This production is brought to you by the University of Edinburgh.
We've got two School for Startups, one in Aberdeen on the 1st of June, so that's the 6 rules of startup, and one in Edinburgh on the 3rd of June, and that's zero cost marketing for startups. So go to schoolforstartups.co.uk. Just a quick reminder that we are being streamed live on the web, and this is being captured for the university's iTunes U site. So just to warn you that you are being recorded. Okay, so I'm not going to do much of an introduction for Guy because you've read his blog, you've read his tweets, you've seen his website, you're here to see him. So I'm just going to hand over to Guy.
Thank you. Thank you. That is a rather presumptuous introduction. Let me explain who I am, in case you might not know who the hell I am. My name is Guy Kawasaki. I'm from Silicon Valley, California, and I'll tell you a little bit about my background. I worked for Apple from 1983 to 1987. I was Apple's software evangelist. Do any of you use Macs in this room? Yeah? Oh, the usual 5%. And the rest of you are oppressed, right? Because nobody uses a Windows machine voluntarily. I worked for Apple from 83 to 87. I was a software evangelist. This is in the Mac division, so I worked for Steve Jobs. That was a very interesting experience. The Macintosh division was arguably the greatest collection of egomaniacs in the history of California. And that's saying a lot, because a lot of egomaniacs in California. Although I think that record was subsequently broken recently by Google. So Google now holds that record. But until Google, we held the record. The Macintosh division was the hand-selected children of Steve Jobs, basically. Because we worked for Steve, we had very special rules, unlike any other part of Apple. Unlimited supplies of fresh orange juice at $2 a bottle. We had a rule that any flight over 2 hours, we could fly first class. My interpretation of the rule was that the 2 hours begins at the moment you leave your apartment. So I flew first class everywhere. It was, as I said, a group of very arrogant people. We were trying to change the world. And I'll give you some of the negatives of this. Back then, Apple Computer was divided into product divisions. There was the Apple II division, which was making all the money. And there was the Macintosh division, which was spending all the money. And so if you looked at the Apple P&L back then, the P would be Apple II and the L would be Macintosh. But the Macintosh division would not let Apple II division people into our building. So if you can imagine working for a company where one part of the company was not allowed into another part of the company. And to compound that problem, if you think about it, the Apple II division was paying for the building that the Macintosh division would not let them into. So the Apple II division came up with a very good joke about the Macintosh division, which is how many Macintosh division employees does it take to screw in a light bulb? The answer is 1. The Macintosh division employee holds up the light bulb and expects the universe to revolve around him. For those of you who are Windows users, the Windows version of this joke is how many Microsoft employees does it take to screw in a light bulb? And the answer to that is none, because Bill Gates has declared darkness the new standard. Early in my career, I watched many high-tech CEOs speak, and I'll tell you, I learned 2 things about them. As speakers, first of all, they pretty much all suck. And the second thing is they go long. So that is a very powerful, ironic, and unfortunate combination, right? So if you're good and you go long, it's okay. And if you suck and you go short, it's okay. But if you suck and you go long, that's the worst possible combination. That's like being stupid and arrogant at the same time. And so I have adopted a top 10 format for my speeches so that if you think I suck, at least you can track progress through my speech. So when I'm on number 5, you know I'm halfway done sucking. I hope you don't think I suck, but in case you do, that's how you can track my progress. I am going to talk to you today about the art of the start. After Apple, I started several software companies. Today, I'm a venture capitalist as well as an entrepreneur. And so this speech reflects my previous book, The Art of the Start, as well as my current book, Reality Check. and I'll try to give you as much. I have an hour to 11. I'll give you as much as I can about starting up a tech company in 1 hour, and I'll try to rip through it so that we can have Q&A, right? We try to do that. So we'll have some Q&A. And now, admittedly, I come from Silicon Valley. This is the Silicon Valley perspective, and that's not to say that that's the right one or the only one, but this is a perspective from Silicon Valley. Although I would make the case that if you can survive and build a company in Silicon Valley, you can do it anywhere. Because arguably we have the most competitive market for capital and for attention and for employees than anywhere in the world. So this will play anywhere. Let's start. So the first thing that I learned, and I want to really hammer in the point to you, is that great tech companies, in my experience, they start with the motivation of making meaning, that is, to change the world. And if you look at the great tech companies, they did much more than make money. Apple Computer changed the world, Google changed the world, Cisco changed the world, Yahoo changed the world. All these companies changed the world because I think their co-founders started off with the goal of making meaning, of making the world a better place, making people more creative or more productive. Which is very different. Now, as a venture capitalist, I'll tell you, I meet with lots of entrepreneurs who say they want to make money. And do we have any MBA students in this audience? That's good. Okay. So, the reason why you want to make meaning, and you want other people who want to make meaning, is that if you start your company to make money, you will attract the wrong kind of employees. You will attract MBAs. And MBAs are the worst kind of employees for a tech startup. And I have an MBA, so I'm telling you, this is from firsthand experience. So what you want to do is find people and be one of these people who want to change the world, making people more creative, more productive, peace of mind, those kinds of things. That's the start of great innovation and great entrepreneurship. I want to read to you, this is an ad, and this is an ad for Nike women's aerobic shoes. A woman is often measured by the things she cannot control. She is measured by the way her body curves or doesn't curve. By where she is flat or straight or round, she is measured by 36, 24, 36, and inches and ages and numbers. By all the outside things that don't ever add up to who she is on the inside. And so if a woman is to be measured, let her be measured by the things she can control, by who she is and who she is trying to become. Because as every woman knows, measurements are only statistics, and statistics lie. So, let's pretend that I'm the vice president of marketing for Nike, and Jessica, you can be my prospective customer, and I say to you, do you have 100 euros, or 100 pounds, or $100? Say yes. Poor student. So I tell you what, so you have 100 pounds, euros, dollars, and I tell you what, if you give me those 100 pounds, euros, or dollars, I will give you 2 pieces of cotton, leather, and rubber manufactured under somewhat suspect conditions in the Far East. Yeah, it's not quite the pitch that Nike uses, right? So my point here is that Nike has turned 2 pieces of cotton, leather, and rubber into something that stands for efficacy and power and liberation. They are making meaning with 2 pieces of cotton, leather, and rubber. If you truly want to change the world, you can make meaning. And Nike can do it with cotton, leather, and rubber. Imagine what you should be able to do with the brain power that's in this room. Make meaning. Now, I tell you, it's been my observation that not only are the companies that make meaning and make the world a better place successful, the method that they use, the perspective, is one of jumping curves, not just duking it out or fighting it out on the same curve. So there's a very good example from the 1800s. ICE 1.0. You want to make meaning, you jump curves. ICE 1.0, in the 1900s, early 1900s, there was an ice harvesting industry in the United States. In the year 1900, 10 million pounds of harvested ice was shipped. These people would go to frozen lakes and ponds. Obviously, it has to be the winter. Obviously, it has to be cold. Cut blocks of ice and sell them. That was ICE 1.0. ICE 2.0 was the ice factory. Now, it did not have to be winter, and it could be any city. You could freeze water in a factory, and then the ice man would drop off ice at your house. Big breakthrough. No longer winter, no longer cold. Ice 3.0 was the refrigerator curve. Now, the Iceman didn't drop off ice at your house. You had your own personal ice factory, the first PCs, if you will, personal chillers. The interesting historical fact is that none of the ice harvesters became ice factories, and none of the ice factories became refrigerator companies, because most people do not jump curves. They stay on the curve they're on. They define their business based on what they do, not what they provide. If I am an ice harvester, I define my business as, during the winter, going to a frozen lake and a pond with a horse and a saw, cutting blocks of ice. If I'm an ice factory, I freeze water in a factory, and then I have the ice man deliver ice to people's homes. If I'm a refrigerator company, I build these little boxes that freeze water in people's homes. Most companies define their business by what they do, not what they provide. And that's why it's so difficult to jump curves and make meaning. If you truly want to make meaning, one very good test is, are you jumping curves? If you were a daisy wheel printer company, is your idea of innovation more typefaces? Or is your idea of innovation, let's get off the daisy wheel curve and let's get to the laser printer curve? Jumping curves. The second thing I'd like to suggest that you do as you start your companies and create your companies and products is that you make a mantra to describe why your product, your company, or your service should exist. I don't know what the practice here in Scotland is, but in America, most companies create mission statements. How many of you have a mission statement? Or is it because most of you haven't, you're students, right? So you don't have mission statements. All right, so when you go to work for Bozos, which is, a possibility, you will see most companies have mission statements. And most mission statements are way too long. I'll tell you how we make mission statements in America. It is a 2-day off-site. You take, the top 50 people in your company, and you go to a hotel with a golf course. It's a very high correlation between golf course and mission statement. And it's 2 days. You hire an outside meeting facilitator. The reason why you hire an outside meeting facilitator, an executive coach, is that nobody on your team can communicate or lead. Because if you had someone on your team who could communicate or lead, you wouldn't need this off-site to create the mission statement. So the first day of this thing, I hope you never have to go through this, by the way. The first day of this thing, you have these team-building exercises. You climb ropes together. You hold each other's arms. You fall into each other's arms so that you can build trust and communication with the people you can't stand. The second day, you're in a room like this, and the meeting facilitator helps you build your mission statement. And if there's 50 of you there, each of you figures that you have the responsibility and the right to have one word each in the mission statement. Okay? So if you're in California, the mission statement has to be good for the employees, the shareholders, the customers, the whales, and the dolphins. And you come up with something like this. The mission of Wendy's is to deliver superior quality products and services for our customers and communities through leadership, innovation, and partnerships. Okay, so do you have Wendy's here? You're lucky. Actually, Wendy's is like a McDonald's or something like that, and fast food. And I tell you, I do like Wendy's. I have 4 children, and when the children outnumber the adults in the family, to use basketball terminology, when you've gone from man to zone, you have a whole new appreciation for fast food. So I'll tell you, French fries is one of our favorite vegetables in our house. So in all the times that I have driven through Wendy's or stood at the window at Wendy's ordering French fries, Coke, and a hamburger, I must admit it has never occurred to me that, what I'm participating in is leadership, innovation, and partnerships. It's just never occurred to me. Now, I don't think any Wendy's employee could repeat this mission statement verbatim. Not even the founder of Wendy's can repeat this mission statement verbatim. I happen to know that's true because he's dead. But the point here is that these mission statements are too long and they're not memorable. Right? So what you want to do instead is create a mantra. A mantra is 2 or 3 words long. Wendy's mantra should be healthy fast food. In 3 words, Wendy's can define why it exists. Healthy fast food. Somewhat oxymoronic, but healthy fast food. FedEx has airplanes, trucks, vans, an incredible IT infrastructure. FedEx can tell you that your package is on the left-hand side of a van going south on Highway 101 in Silicon Valley at the Sunnyvale exit in the second lane from the left at 26 miles an hour. It can tell you all that because it stands for peace of mind. When you absolutely, positively want something someplace, you use FedEx. And Nike has a great slogan, just do it, but the company stands for authentic athletic performance. So these are our 3 examples using 3 words each. I think you should create a mantra for your organization, for your product, for your service. 3 or so words that explain why it should exist. If I have not dissuaded you from creating a mission statement, at least let me show you a very easy way to do it. There is a Dilbert mission statement generator website. We exist to professionally build long-term, high-impact sources so that we may endeavor to synergistically leverage existing effective deliverables to stay competitive in tomorrow's world. No off-site, no aggravation, no hiring an executive coach. Just go to the website, click on a few mission statements, adopt one, save yourself 2 days and maybe $25,000. Right? This is the way to get a mission statement. So step 2 is, after you've decided to make meaning, create a mantra to define your meaning. 2 or 3 words. Step 3 is to get going. This is an ironical thing. You know, everybody has this impression about entrepreneurs that they're these really risk-loving, action-oriented people who are just jumping into it and going for it. And it's been my observation that that is not true. Many times we encounter entrepreneurs who, if they're engineers, they're looking for this perfect world where, you know, this software is completely bug-free. It has every feature ever conceived of, and it's this perfect thing. And it's just wrong. It's just wrong. You need to get going. So let me give you 3 key steps. First is, think differently. Jump curves. Don't just be the upteenth ice harvester or the upteenth ice factory or the upteenth refrigerator company. Think about what's on the next curve, not what's on this curve, right? You need to think differently. Step 1. Step 2, don't be afraid of polarizing people. That is, think about this product or your service that you're creating and accept the fact that some people will love it and some people will hate it. The worst case is nobody cares. If you asked most venture capitalists what they're looking for in a company, they will tell you a proven team with a proven technology in a proven business model. Okay? And I'll tell you, that's all bullshit. Because if you apply that test to investments, you would have never invested in Google, Apple, Cisco, Yahoo, or YouTube, or eBay. All the big winners would not have passed that test. They did not have proven teams, they were not in proven markets, and they did not have proven technology. Zippo, Xero, none of them. What you need to do is have the courage to create the product or service that you yourself would want to use. And it will polarize people. Some people will hate it. Some people will love it. I'm not telling you to intentionally piss people off, okay? Don't get me wrong. But I am telling you, if you try to create something that makes everybody happy, you will create something mediocre, and you might as well just give up right now. Right? Create something great. Third step is you need to find soulmates. There's a stereotype perpetuated, perhaps by Americans, that the entrepreneur is out there doing it all by himself or herself, and it is not true. Steve Jobs had Steve Wozniak, and Bill Gates had Steve Ballmer. And if you look at all these cases, you know, there's Larry and Sergey from Google, there's David and Jerry from Yahoo. If you look at all these cases, there are at least 2 people. And typically they come from different backgrounds. You know, you don't want 2 engineers because then you'll never ship anything. You don't want 2 salespeople because you'll never create anything. You want people who are soulmates. You need to balance each other off. I think the ideal number of people is 3. Basically, you need someone to make it, you need someone to sell it, and then you need an adult to collect the money. Those are the 3 key roles. Right? So think different. Think different. Don't just try to build the 10th same kind of search engine, the 10th same kind of enterprise software, the 10th spam killer. Think different. Create this product that some people love and some people hate, and find a soulmate, because it's going to be a long, difficult journey. Those are the 3 key steps to getting started. The 4th thing is to define a business model. 3 key points about a business model. First point is your business model needs to be very specific. We meet with many entrepreneurs who come in and say, well, we're selling to Fortune 500 companies. And that's arguably an improvement. It used to be that we don't know who we're selling to. We're just going to collect a lot of eyeballs. Trust us, someday we'll monetize it. That will not, is that your plan? Oops. When did you raise money? Oh, good for you. I would suggest you get more specific now. And so there's one level of specificity that says Fortune 500, right? That's enterprise software. I don't think even that's specific enough. I think it should be so specific as to say Fortune 500 company, aeronautics company, this department within the aeronautics company, and in fact, this is the buyer for that department of the specific aeronautics company. The metaphor I'd like you to use is, think of your customer and think of this particular person, and she has your money in her wallet temporarily. And your goal is to get your money out of her wallet. That's the test. Can you get that specific? Second thing is, many entrepreneurs come to us and they say, we have a patent-pending, curve-jumping, paradigm-shifting new business model. And you know what? You may think that's a cool idea, but most people don't, particularly investors. Really, we don't want you to change the world in terms of business models. We would like you to just make something for 50 cents and sell it for $5. You know? And you can sell direct, you can sell indirect, you can do site licenses, you can, monetize the eyeballs, but we don't really particularly want to hear about clever business models that no one has figured out before. We'd just like you to make something, sell it, and collect the money. So keep your business model simple. And the third and most important, and I hope it translates here to another culture, you should ask women what they think of your business model, not men. And I'll tell you why not men. I believe that men, deep in their DNA, absolutely in their ROMs, they have a predisposition to want to kill things. So men want to kill people, they want to kill animals, they want to kill plants, they want to kill things. The manifestation of the modern civilization is that to some degree, unless you're a Republican, you have to sort of control your emotions about wanting to kill things. So you cannot kill people indiscriminately anymore. You can't kill the environment and plants and trees and fish and fauna anymore. So you're running out of things that men can kill. One thing that society still blesses is killing the competition. Right? So you want to create a company to kill Microsoft or kill Oracle, kill Google. And so because men have this predisposition to want to kill things, if you ask them, what do you think about creating this product to kill Microsoft or kill Oracle or kill Apple? Almost all the time a man will say, yeah, it's a great idea. Because men are predisposed to wanting to kill things. Right? Women do not have that fundamental genetic flaw. So when you have an idea about a company and a business model, you should ask women what they think of the idea, not men, because a man will always say it's a good idea. You need to ask women. So I hope you asked her what she thought. Yeah? Okay, so be specific, keep it simple, and ask women what they think of the idea. The 3 key steps of defining a business model. The next step is to weave a MAT. MAT stands for milestones, assumptions, and tasks. I happen to love to play ice hockey. And ice hockey, one of the pleasures of ice hockey is to be one of the first people on the ice right after the Zamboni has cleaned off the ice. because the ice is just pure and there's no scrapings anywhere and there's no cuts in it. It's just beautiful sheet of ice. It's just like being the first person down a mountain in the morning skiing, okay? When you start a new company, it's like being the first person on the ice or the first person on the slopes. It's a beautiful thing because there's no crappy product that people are complaining about the bugs. There's no stupid employees that you should have never hired. There's no crappy furniture. There's no lousy office. There's no lousy everything. Everything is beautiful, right? It's very exciting. Are you in this stage still? There's no pain in the ass venture capitalist, right? Right. So life is beautiful. Everything is upside. It's this pure, wonderful, virgin sheet of ice. And when you're faced with that situation, often you don't know what to do first because it appears that finding an office is really important. Designing a logo is really important. Coming up with stationery is really important. Buying furniture is really important. So this is a matter of the priorities of starting a company. The first priority is you establish your milestones. And milestones are things like you finish the design. God help you, you ship the product. God help you, you collect the money. Milestones are things that you would brag about to your spouse, to your boyfriend or your girlfriend. You would not call up your spouse, boyfriend, or girlfriend and say, honey, today we designed our logo. You would say, honey, today we shipped. That's a milestone. And you need about 4 of these milestones. Not 40, because they're not, if you have 40, none of them are important. Not 1, because if you only have 1, probably you're focused too much on one single thing. You need about 3 or 4, okay? So you need milestones. The second thing is then you need to write down your assumptions. How many sales calls can one of our salespeople make per day? When you do an eyeball play, many people go through something like, well, there are 6 billion people on the internet. How hard could it be to just get 1% of that 6 billion to use our product? How hard could that? It's just 1%. And that kind of assumption is very, very misleading. It's the top-down assumption. It's like saying, well, according to this consulting firm, $100 billion is spent on security software per year, right? And so how hard would it be to get 1% of $100 billion? Well, it's pretty hard, actually. A much better way is to start from the bottom up. You know, how many sales reps can we hire? How many sales calls can they make per day? Of those sales calls, how many will actually get through to a decision maker? Of those decision makers, how many will actually say yes? Of the ones that say yes, how many can actually get the purchase order approved? And so if you do a bottom-up research, you have a much, much smaller number. But you need to test these assumptions. And then the final thing you do is then you do tasks. But the purpose of doing tasks are to either test an assumption or complete a milestones. So the pecking order is milestones, then assumptions, then the task to do those assumptions and milestones. The sixth thing is all the marketing you need to know as a tech startup. A very simple graph. The vertical axis measures your ability to provide a unique product or service. The horizontal axis is the value of that product or service to the customer. If you understand this graph, you'll never have to take any marketing. You never have to do any outside consultants with marketing. This is the graph, okay? There are 4 corners to this graph. Let me take the suspense away. You want to be in the upper right corner. Because everybody in a 2x2 matrix wants to be in the upper right corner. Did you do a 2x2 matrix when you pitched in December? No? Oh, I'm so disappointed. Okay, I'll show you how to make one now. Okay, so let's go through the 4 corners. The first corner is where you create something of value to the customer, but there are other competitors who do the same thing. In that corner, you always have to compete on price, right? If you're making a Windows clone, you have the same operating system with the same hardware. Guess what? You're going to have to compete on price. You're not unique. It could be something valuable. Dell made a lot of money in this corner, but you have to compete on price. The next corner is a corner where you have truly cornered the market. Only you do something. The problem is, what you do is of no value to anyone. In that corner, you're just plain stupid. You own a market that doesn't exist. The next corner is arguably even worse. In the next corner, you create something that is no value to the customer, and there are many competitors funded by stupid VCs like me who do the same thing. That's the .com corner. This is the worst corner. This is dog food. There used to be a dog food business online in the United States. Now, let me explain what happened. The dog food business is really simple. At some basic level, you have a cow and you have a dog, and it's a supply chain management issue. You need to kill the cow, put it in a can, get the can to the dog. That's all the dog food business is. And so Pets.com looked at this situation and said, well, why is there a pet food store in the middle of this supply chain issue? Why is this pet food store grabbing 25% margin? We can eliminate the pet food store and ship direct. Patent pending, curve jumping, paradigm shifting, new way to change the supply chain management issue of going from cow in can to dog. There's only one problem with this theory. Dead cows in cans weigh a lot. So there's lots of shipping and handling. And if you ordered a dead cow in a can, you had to be at home when the UPS person dropped off the dead cow in the can. So it was just as expensive and no more convenient to buy dog food online. Hence, Pets.com really didn't give that much value to the customer. And then people like me, we funded Pets.com, iPets.com, LastMinutePets.com, DiscountPets.com, ePets, iPets, every kind of Pets.com. There are 16 ways to spend more for dog food online than at the dog food store. That's the .com corner. So the corner you want to be in is the other corner here. This is the upper right-hand corner. In this corner, you are unique and you are valuable. In America, where I live, there is a movie ticket buying service. So if you want to buy a ticket at home and print it at home and not go to the movie theater and find it sold out and not have to stand in line, where I live, the only way you can do it is Fandango. This is the smart car. This car just came to America this year. You guys had it for a while, right? But, in America, there are thousands of models of cars that can park parallel to the curb. As far as I know, there's only one that can park perpendicular to the curb. Smart car. If you're really tight for parking, boy, that's about the only car you can get. This is the Breitling emergency. If you unscrew that knob there and pull it out, it puts out an antenna that puts out an emergency broadcast signal. That emergency broadcast signal is caught by other airplanes, and they will tell the Coast Guard or the, whoever, emergency service to come looking for you. So this is not something that you take and do and use when you took the wrong exit off the freeway. Okay? This is when you're about to die. You do this. This is a unique watch. There are not many watches that have this service. If you are a surfer, camper, firefighter, skier, snowboarder, this watch could save your life. This is a Trek Lime. This bike, made in America, has an automatic electronic transmission. It's just about the only bike that shifts gears for you. It's a Trek Lime. I think I have one more. No, I don't. So, the key point is in this 2x2 matrix is, if you are engineering, and most of you are, you need to create a product that is truly unique and truly valuable. If you're marketing, you have to figure out how to convince the world that it's unique and valuable. Where you are unique and valuable, that's where meaning is made, that's where margin is made, that's where money is made, that's where history is made. How are you high and to the right? What is unique about your product and what is valuable about it? If you're in any other corner, it's much harder to be successful. The seventh thing is to follow what I call the 10-20-30 rule of pitching. I have something called Meniere's disease. Meniere's disease has 3 symptoms. Tinnitus, which is a ringing in this ear, hearing loss in this ear, and also the third symptom of Meniere's is sometimes you get attacks of vertigo. Now, there are many theories about what causes Meniere's. Excessive salt, excessive alcohol, excessive caffeine, excessive stress. So far, I've just described my life. So, what you try to do is you reduce all those factors and you try to control these things. Now, I will tell you that I've tried to do that, and I have another theory about what causes Meniere's. My theory is that I'm a venture capitalist, and as a venture capitalist, I listen to pitches from entrepreneurs day in and day out, all year long. Every one of you comes into our offices for a 1-hour meeting with 60 slides because you are so freaking eloquent, you can rip through 1 slide per minute. Every one of them says, we have a patent-pending, curve-jumping, paradigm-shifting new way to use Google AdSense with Linux and MySQL, using PHP and Rails and Drupal to tackle the just mind-boggling potential of selling dog food online. We have a proven management team. We've been working at PetSmart over the summer. We have proven technology. We're experts in Visual Basic. And all we need is, there's 300 million Americans, 1 in 4 owns a dog. That's 75 million dogs. Each dog eats 2 cans of dog food per day. That's 150 million cans of dog food per day. How hard could it be to get 1% of 150 million cans of dog food per day? Conservatively speaking, that's 1.5 million cans of dog food per day. Our margin is $2 per can. That's $3 million per day. Conservatively speaking, in the first year, we should do $500 million. Is that what your pitch was like? And I'll tell you some real life doozies about being a venture capitalist. One company came in and said they wanted to raise money to buy Israel. They wanted to buy it wholesale. They wanted to buy the country in order to make it into an amusement park. Another company came in and they wanted to build a geodesic dome over Los Angeles to control air pollution. I don't know if it was to keep air pollution in or keep it out, but I'll tell you a third example, which is arguably the most interesting. This guy from Hawaii comes to us and says, I have a patent-pending curve-jumping, paradigm-shifting way to tap the growing drowning industry. Okay? You're looking at me like I'm nuts. I'm not making this up. And he says, all right, so we're going to tap this growing drowning business. I said, well, why is the drowning business growing? And this is 5 or 6 years ago. He says, well, it's because there's so much more disposable income that dumber and dumber people are buying boats. So according to Forrester and Jupiter and IDG, the drowning business should be $20 billion by the year 2015. Okay, I'm a venture capitalist. I'm tracking so far, right? And I said, well, what part of the drowning industry are you going to tap? Is it the disposal of bodies? I mean, where is the pain point in the drowning business? And he says, no, the pain point in the drowning business is when you're in the Coast Guard helicopter and it's night and the waves are 30 feet tall. It's spotting Bubba or Junior drowning in the water. Where do you drop the basket with the Coast Guard diver to rescue drowning Bubba or drowning Junior? I say, okay, I understand that. So show me the chip. Because I'm thinking, so now you buy a boat, you get a chip implanted in your neck. If you start drowning, you press your neck, the chip talks to the satellite talks to a heads-up display in the helicopter. It's making sense to me. He says, no, that's not it at all. We don't use a chip. I say, well, show me this paradigm-shifting, patent-pending new way to tap the drowning business. And he shows me, I'm not making this up, a roll of red tape. And in astonishment, I say to him, well, it's not a chip, it's this roll of red tape. How does this work? He says, well, if you're drowning or your airplane crashes, as you're in the water, you unwrap the tape, you wrap it around your wrist, and you throw the roll of red tape out so that when the Coast Guard helicopter comes, they look down and say, there's the trail of red tape, there's Bubba or Junior, that's where you drop the basket. And at this point, I'm having an out-of-body experience, right? And I'm saying, you're kidding me. You're trying to raise millions of dollars to create rolls of red tape that as you drown, you wrap around your wrist so that the Coast Guard can see where you are? And he says, yes. And so I dismissed the idea. Now, fast forward a few years, and I'll tell you what, this guy has been successful. And he has sold hundreds of thousands of these things. And he's made a version that when a pilot hits the water, it self-deploys, because apparently when you eject from a fighter jet and you hit the water, you're pretty much knocked unconscious, so you're not sitting there thinking, oh man, I got to roll the red tape. And he's made a version that absorbs energy during the day so that it can blink all night. And this guy has done it, sold hundreds of thousands of these. So, I tell you all these stories because I believe that the reason why I have dizzy spells and I have there's ringing in my head and I'm going deaf is because of the crappy pitches I listen to. It's not because of the salt or the stress or the alcohol or the caffeine. It's because I'm a venture capitalist. It's an occupational hazard. So to prevent an epidemic of Meniere's, I came up with the 10-20-30 rule of pitching. May you observe these. First is, the optimal number of slides in a PowerPoint presentation for a company is 10. 10. 10. That's all the human mind can handle. In particular, that's all a venture capitalist can handle. Because most venture capitalists, even the best ones, have ADHD. Okay? 10. These are the 10. Now, many people believe with PowerPoint, more is more. It's actually not true. Less is more. If you can cover these 10 points, you'll be doing better than 95% of the people who meet with a venture capitalist. The point of a PowerPoint presentation meeting with a venture capitalist is not to use shock and awe to get the venture capitalist to be so impressed that they want wiring instructions at the end of the meeting. Okay? That just never happens. The point of using PowerPoint with a venture capitalist is to not get eliminated. It's not to sign a deal. It's to not get eliminated. You just want to go to the next step, which is due diligence, not writing a check. That's all you have to cover, those 10. You should be able to give those 10 slides in 20 minutes. You may have 1 hour, but 95% of you are going to need 40 minutes to make your Windows laptop work with the projector. Okay? The other 5% using Macintoshes, you truly will have 40 extra minutes. In those 40 extra minutes, have some discourse, have some conversation. So 10 slides that you can give in 20 minutes. And then the optimal size font in PowerPoint is 30 points. A good rule of thumb is, if this is too dogmatic for you, figure out who the oldest person is in the audience, divide his or her age by 2. Most of the time, you'll be pitching to 55, 60-year-old people. 60 divided by 2 is 30. God bless you. Venture capitalists are getting younger and younger. Someday you may present to a 16-year-old venture capitalist. Use the 8-point font at that point. But until then, 10 slides, 20 points, 10 slides, 20 minutes, 30-point font. The 8th thing is to hire infected people. I think many people will tell you in recommending how you hire people that you find people with the perfect work experience, with the perfect academic background. Ideally, you would like a PhD student in electrical engineering, computer science, material science, bioengineering, something like that. Some great engineering background, and who went on to start Cisco or Yahoo or Apple or Genentech or something like that. You know, this perfect team. Someone who worked at Google for the last 5 years as a vice president. Someone who worked at Microsoft or Oracle or Apple. And I'll tell you that I understand that theory, but I think that theory is wrong. Because, for one thing, correlation does not equal causation, right? And so, there are thousands of Google employees who now believe that they caused Google's success. In reality, they are just correlated with Google's success. Because if you get on a good enough horse, any idiot can win the race. The question is, did you cause the horse to win the race? So, my recommendation is, not only do you consider people's background, work, and education, but also, are they infected with a love of your product? I think that's as important a variable. So, to do that, you have to ignore what's irrelevant. There are 2 kinds of irrelevancies. The first irrelevancy is the lack of the perfect background. These are 2 rings. These 2 rings depict my background. When I was hired by Apple, I came from the jewelry business. Most of my career prior to Apple, I literally counted and schlepped diamonds around the world. I was in the jewelry business. I have absolutely nothing in my background to indicate that I should go to work as a software evangelist for Apple Computer. So, one kind of ignorance is you need to ignore people's lack of the perfect background. The other kind of ignorance is that you need to ignore people who have the perfect background but don't get it. Someone who worked for this really well-known tech company who has this perfect background but just doesn't see how we're changing the world. you need to not hire that person, just as you need to hire the person who doesn't have the perfect background, but does get it and does love what you do. Second thing is, you need to always hire better than yourself. Everybody says this, very few people do it. It takes someone with great personal self-esteem to do this. Right? So if you're the engineering guy, this is particularly true of engineers, and engineers have really hard time doing this because engineers believe that the hard thing in a company is engineering. And everything else is easy. Sales is easy, ops are easy, accounting is easy, finance is easy, marketing is easy. Everything is easy. Only engineering is hard, right? I know you believe that. In this building, I guarantee you believe that, right? So you're all engineering background. You think, engineering is hard, sales is easy, right? So you hire somebody and you say, well, I'm going to hire this guy, but I know I could be a better salesperson than this guy. It's just, I'm an engineer. That's the harder thing. That's what I need to do. What you need to do is you need to hire people who are better than yourself. The hardest case for you will be to hire an engineer who's better than yourself. There's something about this. People have a very hard time hiring people better than themselves. Ideally, the ideal CEO, whether you come from an engineering background or not, would say, I want to hire a salesperson who's better at selling than I am, an ops person who's better at organizing things than I am, a marketing person who's better at marketing than I am, not people who are less good so that you can feel superior. You have to hire people who are better than yourselves. And the last thing is you apply what I call the shopping center test. The shopping center test works like this. If you are at a shopping center and you see someone that you're talking to hire, and the distance is from me to the back of the room, if you see that person but that person has not yet seen you, you can have one of several reactions. One reaction is, it's not that big a shopping center. If I actually get face to face with the person, I will actually say hello. That's one reaction. Another reaction is, oh my God, I'm going to go to another shopping center. Third reaction is, drop everything, go over there and talk to the person. If you have any reaction other than wanting to just make a beeline straight over there and saying hello to him or her, you should think twice about hiring the person. Because a startup is like a family. It's a dysfunctional family, but it's a family. And so the initial reaction to any prospective hire is, wow, I really like that person. I should go over there and say hello. That's the shopping center test. The ninth thing is to lower the barriers to adoption. This is what we call in America a duhism, as in, duh, of course you want to lower the barriers to adoption, as opposed to what? Raise the barriers to adoption? But I'll tell you, many companies have barriers to adoption. Starts with this. The learning curve is too steep. The model here should be, take it home, plug it in, and it works. Most companies have a model that is, take it home, plug it in, go online, look for the manual. I don't even know if, anybody has a VCR anymore. But there used to be this thing called VCRs. And I swear, you had to be Akio Morita of Sony to set the time. Nobody could set the time on a VCR. Flatten the learning curve. Take it in, take it home, plug it in, it works. Go to the home page, look at it, use it, it works. Don't have to read a manual. Second point is, you should never ask people to do something that you yourself would not do. This is a very good test for any new product or service. Are you asking people to do something that you yourself would not do? Let's say that you have the greatest website for content. This content is so great that there is no way that people will mind filling out 50 fields of personal information to get the free password. You know what? You wouldn't do it. Don't ask anybody else to do it. This is a washing machine. It's a positive example because at the Kauai Hyatt Regency, Kauai is kind of like Edinburgh, except it's sunny. I was told that there's 2 sunny days a year here. Is that true? No. Is that an exaggeration? Oh, it's less? Maybe you tell that to Americans so we don't come here. Good marketing. I have to tell you, the most impressive thing I've seen in Scotland, after being here one day, is, and I hope you don't tell me it's not true, but this theory that people, you blow off that cannon every day at 1 o'clock, I love that idea. And not the fact that everybody sets their clock, to 1 o'clock at that, but just the cleverness of thinking, well, I can either do it at 12 and have to shoot it 12 times, or shoot it at 1 and shoot it 1 time. That is very clever. That is really good thinking. So that was a high point. Yesterday, I had a very interesting day yesterday. So thanks to my hostess here. We start off with this really, really high-end breakfast cuisine at a place called Snacks, right? Which I had breakfast with 6 drunks at 7 a.m. That was an interesting experience. And then we had lunch with with a minister from the Labour Party, Andy Kerr. So, we went from Snacks to the Parliament to have dinner at the dining room. Then we went to the castle. And, but between that, it was a high point of my day. The other high point of my day was we went to Crombie's. And we met Mr. Crombie's, right? We met Mr. Crombie's because in America, there's this TV channel called Discovery Channel, and there's this show called Bizarre Foods. And this guy, Andrew Previn, he goes all over the world, and he eats bizarre foods. So he did a thing about Scotland and the UK, and he went to Crombie's, and he showed how they made haggis. And so we went there, and Mr. Crombie walked in. And we got a picture with him, so that was my high point of the day. But really, don't tell Andy Kerr that, all right? Where was I here? The mark of a good keynote speaker is you never get off track, but the mark of a great one is you can get off track and come back. So I'll show you that. And the third point about lowering the barriers is to embrace your evangelist. I was an evangelist for Apple. My job was to convince people that Macintosh would make the world a better place by making people more creative and more productive. I was an internal evangelist. I was on the payroll. An external evangelist is someone who's from your customer base, who sees what you do and wants to help you spread the word. TiVo, the PVR has evangelists. Nike has evangelists. Harley-Davidson has evangelists. Apple certainly has evangelists. Google had evangelists in the early days. There was a time where people just loved Google and just spread the word for Google, not Google employees. Most companies are afraid of evangelists. They're freaked out. Like, why are these people wanting to help us? We're not paying them. They're not our employee. You need to embrace those people. Give them information. Give them the ability to help you. Welcome them into the fold. 3 ways to break down the barriers. The 10th thing is about sales. No one will probably tell you this, but I will tell you this. Write this down. Sales fixes everything. You can blow all the smoke you want about strategic partnerships, and you have this growing number of eyeballs and all this kind of bullshit. It all comes down to sales. If you are generating sales, life is good. If you are generating sales, your investors are not going to bug you. Because I guarantee you, your investors, they're, on 5 or 10 boards. Of the 5 or 10 boards, 9 are not meeting their budget. If you're the one that meets your budget and sales are working, guess what? They don't have time for you. They don't want to bother you. They don't want to jinx you. They will stay away from you. Sales fixes everything. I cannot give you a more important point. Sales fixes everything. If you want to be left alone by pain-in-the-ass VCs, have sales. It's very simple. So, this is how you have sales. How you make it rain. First, you let 100 flowers blossom. This is stolen from Chairman Mao, although I fail to see how he ever implemented this. Letting 100 flowers blossom means that when you come out with your product, you may think you know exactly who should use it and what they should do with it. Get over that attitude, because when you come out with your product or service, you may find people who you never anticipated are using your product or service, and you may freak out. My God, the wrong people are buying our products in large quantities. What's going wrong? We need an offsite. If that ever happens to you, step 1, take the money. Sales fixes everything. Take the money. Step 2, find out who these people are that are adopting you and find out why. Give them more reasons, which is very different than finding out the people who are rejecting you and trying to fix it for them. I have found that that never works. If someone doesn't get it, doesn't understand what you do in the first 10 minutes, they never will. Cut your losses, right? Let 100 flowers blossom. Macintosh was created to do spreadsheet, database, and word processing. We're 0 for 3. That's all, 0 for 3. By the way, who won Barcelona versus... Let 100 flowers blossom. Spreadsheet database word processor, 0 for 3. One flower that came for Apple was Aldous PageMaker. Aldous PageMaker created a field of flowers called desktop publishing, and desktop publishing saved Apple. If it was not for Aldous PageMaker and desktop publishing, there would be no Apple today. All of you would be listening to Sony cassette, Walkman tapes today, not iPods, right? Letting 100 flowers blossom. Aldous PageMaker was a gift from God to save Apple Computer. I truly do believe that. In fact, I believe in God, and it's not exactly C.S. Lewis level reasoning, but I believe in God, and one of the main reasons I believe in God is there is no other explanation for Apple's continued survival than the existence of a benevolent God. Let 100 flowers blossom. Step 2 is enable people to test drive your product or service, to take it home, to download it, to use it. Basically, you're saying to people, I think you're smart, and because I think you're smart, try my software. Try my site. I am not going to bludgeon you into becoming a customer. Try my stuff, and then you decide. Find the key influencers. Many young entrepreneurs, they make this mistake. They say, I want to find CEO, CIO, CTO, CMO, CXO level people. I want to talk to CXO level people because they're the people with the highest title, therefore they're the smartest and most powerful. They can make a purchasing decision. I will tell you that generally speaking, in American companies, maybe not in Scottish companies, but in American companies, the higher you go in most companies, the thinner the air, and the thinner the air, the more difficult it is to support intelligent life. So the higher you go in most American companies, the stupider the people get. And so what you truly want to do is find the influencers. These influencers are tech support, they're customer service, they're secretaries, administrative aides, summer hires, interns. They're the people who do the real work and understand what they really need. Those are the people that the CIO, CEO, CTO, CMO, CFO ask, what should we do? Find the key influencers. It's not necessarily the CXO level person. This is how you make it rain. And this is my last recommendation. Don't let the bozos grind you down. The bozos are going to try to grind you down. They're going to tell you can't be done, shouldn't be done, isn't necessary. There are two kinds of bozos in the world. One bozo, slovenly, disgusting body odor, drives a rusty old car, dandruff, pocket protectors, you just name it, a loser. You look at that bozo, you say, wow, you're a loser. If I listen to you, what does that make me? A loser, because only a loser would listen to a loser, right? That's not the dangerous bozo. The dangerous bozo is rich, successful, German car, Swiss watch, uses a Macintosh, dresses in all black, buys stuff that ends in I, Armani, Lamborghini, Ferrari, Maserati. Beware of people who buy a lot of stuff that end in I, okay? And so you look at this person, you say, rich and famous parses to smart. 50% of the time, that's wrong. Rich and famous parses to lucky. Not smart, lucky. And so, we're in the midst of a flu crisis here, and as soon as you get the vaccination for swine flu, but generally speaking, the way you fight flu is, besides washing your hands, is you get inoculated. You get a little bit of flu, so your body has built up resistance to big flu, right? Same thing is true with bozosity. So I'm going to expose you to some bozosity so that when you encounter major bozosity, your body has already built up resistance. I think there is a world market for maybe 5 computers. Thomas Watson, chairman of IBM, said this in 1943. He predicted a world market of 5 computers. I have 5 Macs in my house. I have all the computers he anticipated in the world in my house. This telephone has too many shortcomings to be seriously considered as a means of communication. The device is inherently of no value to us. Western Union internal memo in 1876. Western Union is not PayPal today. Duh, guess why? They wrote off telephony. Hard to go from telegraph to internet if you write off telephony in the middle. It's too big a chasm to cross. Now, to be fair to Western Union in 1876, if you had the first telephone, who would you call? Maybe their strategic direction in 1877 was, why don't we teach Americans the Morse code? How hard could it be? We'll teach every American the Morse code, then we could put a telegraph in every house. There's no reason why anyone would want a computer in their home. Ken Olsen, founder of DEX, did this in 1977. He was a great entrepreneur, great innovator, but he was so successful on the mini computer curve, he could not embrace the personal computer curve. This is dangerous pososity. And one last example. It's too far to drive, and I don't see how it can be a business. I uttered this pososity 15 years ago, 6 weeks, 7 days, 5 hours, and 43 minutes ago when I was asked by Michael Moritz of Sequoia Capital, would you like to interview for the CEO position of a company that I just funded? And I said, Mike, I live in San Francisco. My wife and I have a son. She's in beta with our second son. I don't want to drive an hour each way. And I looked at the company's homepage, and I don't see how it can be a business, because all it is a collection of two people's favorite websites. What are they going to do? Sell ads to ARPANET scientists? What's the business model? So I passed on the opportunity to interview for the CEO position of Yahoo. Now, let's say I took the interview. I would have gotten the job. So I'd have been CEO. I would have been CEO of Yahoo. I would have gotten 10% of Yahoo because I was the first adult there, right? So I got 10% of Yahoo. It would vest over 4 years. But let's be conservative. Let's say after 2 years of the 4-year vesting, I Peter Principle out. I reached the height of my incompetence. So there's this big board meeting, and they say, you know, guy, we need someone who can take Yahoo to the next level, someone who can stand toe-to-toe with Steve Jobs, Steve Ballmer, Bill Gates, Steve Case, Rupert Murdoch, Michael Ovitz. We need someone who can stand toe-to-toe with all these media moguls. You're not the person. We can't believe that you can take Yahoo to the next level. So we're terminating you today as the CEO of Yahoo. Now, I don't know how it works here, but in America, guess what? As a Japanese American, I'm an oppressed minority. In America, you cannot fire oppressed minorities. You know, it's called wrongful termination. So I would have told him very calmly, you don't understand something. As a Japanese American, I'm an oppressed minority. We're still pissed off about World War II. You know, because in World War II, you didn't intern hardly any Italians. You didn't intern hardly any Germans. You only interned the Japanese Americans. Why was that? We're still pissed off about that. Then, you know, this big peaceful nation of America, drop a frickin' bomb on my country. Twice, as a matter of fact. We're still pissed off about that. You think you're going to fire me? I don't think so. There will be a lawsuit. There will be a lawsuit tomorrow on your desk called wrongful termination. And then turn your TV to CNN or Sky, because you'll see 60 little Japanese ladies protesting in front of Yahoo's headquarters. And he would have said, you know, guy, what would it take? Remain calm. What would it take for you to go away quietly? And I would have said, just fully vest me. Give me all 4 years, even though I've been here only 2 years. And he would have said, okay. So by my calculation, this response cost me $2 billion. You know, I have to tell you, $2 billion here, $2 billion there adds up to real money pretty quick. I would not be in Scotland today if I had not made this decision. So, question is why? And it was because I was a bozo. Because I was on the personal computer curve and successful there. I could not embrace the internet curve. I thought that the personal computer curve had a new extension called the internet. The internet was nothing more than what was coming through the modem cable, right? I was so wrong. Also, I looked at Yahoo, and it was, what? Collection of Jerry and David's favorite websites. Where's the proven management team? Yeah, they worked at the Stanford bookstore one summer. Where's the proven business model? Selling ads to who? ARPANET scientists? Where's the proven technology? There's no technology there. They just use HTML to create this little database of their favorite websites. There's nothing defensible. There's no perfect team, no perfect product, no perfect patent pending, curve jumping, paradigm shifting, new technology. There's no great business model that's unique. Nothing. Zero. Zippo. Right? So I passed on Yahoo. This is bozosity. This is bozosity. You need to keep these stories in mind, because I tell you what, as you pitch your companies, you're going to pitch to people like me, and you know, customers and all that, and you're going to hear no, can't be done, shouldn't be done, isn't necessary. You need to resist their bozosity. Now, I wish I could tell you that every time somebody tells you no, it means you're going to succeed. It's not that easy, right? Most of the time they'll be right. But if you listen to people who tell you no and don't try, you will never know. And then truly, truly, you will never know, and you will have lost. Don't let the bozos grind you down. And this is my last slide. 3 pieces of information. First, if you want a copy of this presentation, just drop an email to gina@garage.com. Second, I have this website called Alltop, where we aggregate news. One topic is startups. So all the news about startups is at startups.alltop. We do venturecapital.alltop, and we also have one for your country, Scotland.alltop. So this is news aggregation by topic. And the third thing is I use a lot of stock photography in this presentation, and I get these photos from iStock Photo, and I love this company. It's a company that's now part of Getty, but it's out of Calgary, Alberta, Canada. And so for $3, let's say you wanted to illustrate the concept of stupid people, you could ask your friends or classmates or relatives to pose, but why do that? You just go to iStock Photo, pay $3, you get hundreds of pictures of stupid people. High res, royalty free, life is good. iStock Photo. So those are my last 3 pieces of information, and it's been exactly an hour. Do I have time for questions or no? Yeah? Okay, so any questions for me? Yes?
Can I ask you to stand up and use the microphone?
Hello?
Yes.
What would you say is the one most important characteristic of a successful business person?
The one most important
Characteristic.
characteristic? So the question is, what's the most important characteristic of a successful startup? And I'll tell you something, quite honestly, luck. Really. I truly do believe that. Because I look at some of these companies, and I tell you, at the time they were starting and raising money, I don't think I would have invested. I don't think any of you, confronted with some of these ideas, would have squeezed the trigger and joined or done it. Because, I mean, let me describe some companies in terms you never have probably heard them described. So I need infinite bandwidth and infinite server space because I'm going to allow people to take illegally obtained copyright video and upload them. And the tipping point for my company will be when people drop Mentos into Diet Cokes. What do you think? You want to fund YouTube? I'm going to enable people to buy and sell used printers online. Forget the fact that if you're buying the printer, you really don't know if it works. Forget the fact if you're selling the printer, you don't know if you'll get paid. Besides that, why not fund eBay? Right? We have the 16th search engine. Ignore the fact that there's AltaVista and Inktomi and Yahoo. Just fund us, because we have a new algorithm for search engines. We're going to count inbound links. The world needs another search engine. Wow, that's Google. And so if you go down the list time and time again, you just have to say, wow, would you have funded that? And an honest VC will tell you no. And I just can't see, yes, I believe successful companies have people who work hard. I believe that. But a lot of unsuccessful companies have people who work hard. Successful companies have smart people, but so do unsuccessful companies. And so, every VC will tell you, if I had funded Google, Yahoo, Cisco, or Apple, I would tell you right now, I would stand here right now, I'll tell you, I knew that Google was going to be a success because I met Larry and Sergey. They were bright people. And I knew that counting inbound links was a better algorithm. And I understood that there would be a democratization of advertising so that people eventually would want to buy the word real estate plus Santa Cruz. Because I knew that in Santa Cruz, real estate brokers want to come up at the high end of that search when people type in Santa Cruz real estate. So I knew that. So I had this vision for how search could be better by counting inbound links. I looked at the team. I knew they were going to be good people. And I knew there was a good business model because all these real estate brokers, all these people selling, football equipment would want to buy the word football Scotland, and football Barcelona. So I had this vision for how search could be better. That's why I funded Google. And the way it works in the venture capitalist business is you do this. You make about 20 bets. 19 are failures. The odds are 95% that, you're a failure. What can I tell you? But let's say you are the next Google, or the next Yahoo, or Cisco, or Apple. The way this works is you make 20 bets. 19 are failures. 1 is a success. And then you declare victory. You say, I knew that this guy was the next Larry, Sergey, David, Philo, Jerry Yang, Steve Jobs, Wozniak. I knew this guy was the next guy. And so if confronted, and someone asks you, well, can I just point out to you, you made 20 bets. 19 were wrong, 1 was right. If you're so smart, how come you were wrong 19 out of 20 times? And you say, no, I knew he was going to be successful. My partners did the other 19. That's the way the venture capitalist business works. So now, I guess that's not too actionable. So somebody says, well, what's the most important factor? And I say, well, be lucky. I guess you could write that down, but tomorrow, what do you say? Oh, guy said be lucky. Now what do I do? And the truth is that it's a crapshoot. And the only way you're going to find out is to create a prototype and get out there. There's no other way. You just have to take the shot. And just understand that you're in a game that 19 out of 20 times you'll fail. Well, that's a little harsh, because there's the Google, which is this home run success, but then 3 or 4 or 5 out of that 20 might have 5 or 10 times exits money, and that's great. So there's a baseball analogy. Google was, the end of the World Series last game, grand slam, home run with 2 outs, right? That's Google. Cannot get better than Google. But there are a lot of triples and doubles and even singles that are very successful. But man, I think luck is a very big factor. What else? Yes.
So you said something in your presentation about asking women.
Yeah.
What did your wife say about Alltop?
What did my wife? I never asked her. The thing for me with Alltop is it's very gratifying work, because the bloggers who are in Alltop appreciate the traffic, and the people who need the information are very appreciative that we have found a better way to display information than arguably a search engine. So, the difference between Google and Alltop, besides $100 billion in valuation, is that Google is very good for answering the question like, how many people live in Scotland? Okay, if you typed in how many people, population of Scotland, it would point you to probably Wikipedia, right? And you get the answer. We answer a different question. Our question is, what's happening in Scotland? So if you went to Scotland.alltop, where we have all the news feeds from the Scottish newspapers and the Scottish bloggers and all that, you would see kind of what's happening in Scotland at this moment. And that's very different than saying how many people live in Scotland. The last 2 topics that we created, last night we created one called Sky.alltop for the Sky network, the news network, because I was having dinner with people from Sky. So we decided to do that. And previous to that, a few hours before, we created swineflu.alltop. So it's swine. Can you go to swineflu.alltop?
It's just flu.alltop, isn't it?
Oh, it's swine flu, not flu. You can just click on the S here. Click on the S in alphabetical. This will show you all the topics that begin with the S. And there will be one called, where is it? Swine flu there. So these are all the news feeds about swine flu. So if you really care about swine flu, if you really want to know, these are the feeds from the Center for Disease Control and the World Health Organization, and Google's doing that search, and New York Times and LA Times. Arguably this is a great aggregation of swine flu news. And so can you go to venturecapital.alltop? And that's all the Scottish news. And so this is all the blogs and news about venture capital right now. And if you mouse over, would you just put the mouse over one of these? Yeah. So we show you the first paragraph of each story so you can determine whether you want to click through. The business model, by the way, is we sell those 2 ads. We sell a leaderboard and we sell a 300 by 250. So that's, we are an eyeball play too. Our intellectual argument, right or wrong, is that we truly offer a segmented audience. Because if you're at Scotland.alltop, guess what? You're interested in Scotland. And if you're at swineflu.alltop, you're interested in swine flu. Contrast that by perhaps the random Google AdSense, where let's say you're a Scottish blogger and you wrote that I went to hear Guy Kawasaki speak today, but I know he just came from Mexico. I sure hope he doesn't have swine flu. So Google picks up the word swine flu and uses that AdSense algorithm, and it gives you an ad for, I don't know, surgical mask. Okay? But really, fundamentally what you wrote about is not the swine flu. You're a blogger about Linux, or you're a blogger about open source, or you're a blogger about Scotland. And so the fact that the string swine flu was in there was just a sort of happenstance accident. That is very different than swineflu.alltop. If you're at swineflu.alltop, you're interested in swine flu. And if you're at ADHD.alltop, you're interested in, because you're a parent of attention deficit kids. So it very much segments the audience. And that's the theory of Alltop. My wife is particularly interested in human rights, so we created slavery.alltop. All the news about slavery and human trafficking is in one site. So that's the goal. So I must admit, I did not ask her, which maybe means I'll fail. But yeah. How about one last question? Yes?
Hold on a second. We take two more then.
How many of you are on Twitter right now, or on Twitter in general? Wow.
I was just wondering where you thought the next big opportunities lied.
Where?
Yeah.
The truth is I have no idea. I don't think the role of venture capitalists are to be visionaries, because venture capitalists are not visionaries. The role of a venture capitalist is to find visionaries and then sink our teeth into them. And so I'm here to sink my teeth in you. I'm not here to tell you what the future is. By definition, a venture capitalist is over the hill, because if we could do it, we would do it. We cannot do it. We need you to do it. It's a whole different role. So it's much more likely that the future is going to be invented by the audience than by the speaker. It's just, and even if I knew, I wouldn't tell you, but I don't know.
Guy, Mike Coulter, digitalagency.com. Guy, I just want to ask you a quick question based on point 9 about sales fixes everything. And I'd like to bring into it Twitter in terms of no one seems to know what Twitter's monetization model is or what the future is for Twitter, whether Google will buy them or not. Be really interested in what you see 6 months' time for Twitter and where it's going.
I love Twitter. Truly, I love Twitter. I think Twitter is the best thing for advertising and marketing that's been invented since television. And arguably, it's better than television, because television, you need to kind of spend $3 million for a Super Bowl commercial, right? So I don't know how Twitter intends to monetize, but when they get 25 million or 50 million users, there will be a way. If I were them, I would use some kind of model inspired by text messaging, where in the United States anyway, you get a certain level of text messages for free, and then there's another level where you pay $10 a month, and then there's another level where you get unlimited for $20 a month. That's what I would do with Twitter. I would say you can tweet 250 times for free, 250 to 1,000 times is $5, and 5,000 over unlimited is, I don't know, pick a number, $20. And many people believe that if Twitter started charging like that, most people would stop using Twitter. I think that's not true. I think that Twitter is so ingrained in many of us now that, I could not leave Twitter. If somebody said Twitter was $50 a month, I would pay. I would pay without question, because $50 a month is roughly, 1 cup of coffee every 2 days. Right? I spend $50 a month at Starbucks. So why wouldn't I spend $50 a month for Twitter, which is arguably making Alltop successful? So maybe I should ask you, of you Twitter users, if you had to suddenly start paying $5 a month for Twitter, would you pay? And I think, I'm sorry? So let's say there is a free version. You can have up to 250 tweets. I'm picking a number out of the air. Yeah, maybe 250 is too many, because that's 8 a day. That's a lot. Well, that's not so much. So yeah, up to 250, it's free. After 250, you pay $5 a month. How many would you pay to be on Twitter? See, that's the argument, right? So we go from 50 people to 5 people. So let's say we go from 50 to 5. So only 1 out of 10 people will pay $5 a month. But 1 out of 10 people of 50 million is 5 million. 5 million times $5 is 25 million. 25 million a month times 12 months. Hey, it's getting interesting. You know what I'm saying? So, I love Twitter. I love Twitter.
felt it was appropriate that Twitter maybe has an AdWords model based on what people are tweeting.
Yeah, so the question is, what happens if Twitter had an AdWords model a la, I said that right, a la Google. And, another parameter could be free with advertising or $5 without advertising, right? Personally, I think most people would say, I can ignore the advertising, no problem. So that would be like the Gmail model, right? Where you send a Gmail and you say, I'm going to Scotland and I'm thinking of getting, haggis, and there's a text ad in my Gmail that says, go to Crombie's, right? Gmail has never, my perception of Gmail is that's not that successful. I don't know. I like the SMS model that, it's very direct. It's like, you get $250 free, you want more than $250? Hey, we're your drug dealer, $5. I like that model. Going back to my presentation where I said keep the business model simple, I think that's a simple business model. $250 free, $5 over. It's very easy to understand. I think you could do something like, with Twitter, you could say, all right, so for 1 year, unlimited use is $50 one time. Or you can pay $5 a month. So it's 60, 5 times 12 is 60, or 50 now. I would do that too. I think people will pay for Twitter at this point. Okay, so just to wrap up. For me, the key to entrepreneurship is that you decide you want to make meaning. Not money, meaning. If you make meaning, if you change the world, you will probably also make money. Don't worry about it. You'll make money. So make meaning. Get a mantra, 2 or 3 words that describe what you do, right? Jump curves. Don't just stay on the same curve. Do something 10 times better, not 10% better. Go from ice harvester to ice factory to refrigerator curve. Don't worry, be crappy. You don't have to have this perfect first version. Just get it out there. Find these co-founders. Get to sales. Sales fixes everything. And don't let the bozos grind you down. And that's the key to entrepreneurship. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.
This production is copyright the University of Edinburgh.